Welcome back to Doodling with Purpose, the week-by-week guide to learning ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Now, there's a lot of glyphs out there, and we've gone through quite a lot of them in this course. There's 150, 170 sound glyphs, but there's a lot of glyphs that are something else, which is called a determinative. And I want to talk a little bit about that and how that can relate to regular sound glyphs today as we continue to build our skill sets and, well, build up our ability to read the language. So PR, right? So PR is the word for house. It also is a drawing of a house, a physical foundation. That's what that is. It's the door, that's that blank spot in front. So this can be a sound glyph. It can also be an ideogram, which if you see it, it can mean house. It can be the sound PR, but it can also act as a determinative. So how do you know when the same glyph is being used for any number of purposes? Are you supposed to pronounce it PR? Are you supposed to say it's a house? Are you supposed to consider it a place as a determinative? Well, the best way to know is really placement. If you see a glyph at the end of a word, there's a very good chance it's a determinative, even if it makes a sound. So PR here is at the end of this word. We have the papyrus, we have the bundle of needles, the door bolt, followed by PR, the house plan. So this is pronounced I-S, is. So you have I, and then is, and then another S for the bolt. It's the word tomb. So here's where we continue your vocabulary building aspect of this class. So a tomb is a place. Think of a determinative as a clue. And that's really what it's all about. It makes hieroglyphics way less complicated because these clues are spread throughout the entire language. The two clues, in fact, you have here in the word for tomb is you have the determinative at the end showing that this is a place, reminding you like, oh, it's the word tomb, right, because it's got a place determinative. Also, there's some double sounds. Anytime there's a double sound, whether it's a repetition of a single, double, or triple consonant, those are just meant to jog your memory about the sound of the previous glyph. So really, this is pronounced is, but it has repetition of sounds. So you start with an I, then you have the needle bundle, which is IS, followed by S. So I-S, S. In other words, the IS in the middle is a repeated sound. The PR at the end is not pronounced. It's not part of the word because this is a determinative, not a sound glyph. You could write this like at the very bottom there with the papyrus and the bolt alone, IS. And that's actually what's going to be covered next week when we talk a little bit more about the elastic nature of the language. So there's many determinatives that are very, very common. This is probably a good place to pause the video and write all of these down. We've covered a lot of these in the past few weeks and tend to be the most common. Now, don't get overwhelmed by the sheer number of glyphs. As I said, there's about 150 sound glyphs, and we've covered most of them in the first half of this class, as well as the two consonant sounds like PR for house. That's a two consonant sound. So there's about 20 single consonant, more or less 40, 50 double consonant, and then about another sort of 33 consonant sounds. As far as determinatives, there are hundreds of them, literally hundreds. They go on and on and on and on. The reason that you don't need to memorize every single one of these hundreds and hundreds of determinatives is simply because they always appear at the end of the sentence. And if it's a glyph you don't recognize, especially if you don't recognize it as one of the 150 sound glyphs, that's how you know it's a determinative. So if you see something at the end, you're like, I have no idea what that is. That's just there as a clue to help you figure out what the word is that you're reading. Hence the word tomb having a house glyph at the end. So anytime you encounter a glyph and you're like, I don't recognize that one. They didn't teach us that on Doodling with Purpose. What the heck? It's because you're looking at a determinative. And there are literally hundreds and hundreds of them. And they're usually pretty easy to figure out, especially once you know the word. You can put the clues together. And that is the key to reading hieroglyphics. All right, next week we're going to get a little bit more into the aspects of the elastic nature of the language once again, and we're going to review honorific and graphical transposition, which is something we covered in the first half of the class. Let me know any questions or comments you have. Like this video, share this series. It's the best way to show YouTube to keep sharing it. It's how their algorithm works. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for more doodling with purpose. Keep practicing, keep glyphing.